Hi, welcome to another Kaladesh Aether Revolt draft. Mostly Aether Revolt, we'll start with that pack. We've got this Mythic that I never take, Lightning Runner. 5 for a 2/2 haste, seems a little underpowered. And there's other text on it, but, dies to Shock. Dies to Doomblade. Get rid of it. Reverse Engineer would be good in slower formats. And if it was instant, that'd be also pretty cool. Aeronaut Admiral. God, this card's good. 3 power is what you need to crew most vehicles, and giving them flying can just win the turn you play it. So that's definitely high up there. And Chandra's Revolution is the best removal spell here. I don't like Caught in the Brights. It's fine if you're really aggressive or have some cheap vehicles, but the creature still gets to do a lot. It can still crew. It still uses whatever abilities it might have. So I'm going to start here with Aeronaut Admiral, passing Lightning Runner because I'm just not a fan of that card. Another pretty bad rare. This one's even worse, Pia's Revolution. Unless you have like the all-artifact deck, it's not going to be good. And we don't really have a white card to follow this up with. Decommission, it's a bit early to take a card like this, but it's usually good to have one in your deck. Wrangle. So, red-white is a good combination for some vehicle nonsense. And even though we passed that Mythic, I'm not really going to worry about that too much. I'll take Chandra's Revolution here and follow it up with some more flying enablers for vehicles, maybe. Or Outland Boar, if we give up on this Aeronaut Admiral. Yeah, the trouble with this format is getting enough early stuff to do. Now, Welder Automaton is okay. It's usually good to have this, but I don't want to pick it this early. Whereas Outland Boar, I mean, maybe green-red is just open, and we get paid off with these boring cards. Wow, this is just animate all the vehicles getting passed to us. That's interesting. Okay, so there's a couple choices here. We could take another Chandra's Revolution, or we could start picking up some creatures to fill in our deck, or even this Iron Tread Crusher, but I'm getting a little suspicious that we won't end up with the right creatures we need if we don't take the Bandar or the Leopard. And yeah, white is not really coming right now, so we'll keep an eye on that, and we might have to just give up on the Admiral. And that's close. I will take the Bandar here because you just want to fill your 2-drop slot with great stuff, and this does have a lot of synergy in the set. It enables 1/1 counters, and it enables Revolt because you can, let it go at the beginning of your turn by putting all the counters off of it. Alright, what the heck? Nothing left in this pack. That's alright. Some packs are just going to be weaker than others. Dark Intimations. It's just a shame to be a 3-color card without green in it, because green is the best at fixing. Could be the Specialist. No good green cards. I don't love the Elite. It's certainly not a 5th pick. I mean, it could be, but not something I want to do. Yeah, there's not much here. Leave in the Dust is just a little expensive for what it's doing. Windkin Raiders is strong, and Restoration Specialist. I'll just take the Specialist. It's possible that becomes something. And we're getting past a lot of these blue crazy things, these improvised cards. But blue is not something I really want to end up in the start, and not something I really want to end up with in general, unless you get some better payoff cards than one Inventor. And it requires you to have a lot of artifacts to be really good. So here I'll just take another 2-drop white card, the Audacious Infiltrator. It is a little weak, but if you get one hit in and then it dies to some shock or removal spell, that's already good enough, and it is a champion at crewing vehicles. So, well, if we went into some crazy artifact sacrifice strategy, we could take the Requisitioner. Not terrible, but usually it won't really get its money back. Girper Osprey. Yeah, I don't mind some flying in my deck. I'll take that. And an extremely late Spire Patrol. So we can kind of give up on our first 3 of our first 4 picks here and take this guy. The payoff is high enough, it's super late. And maybe we wheel some of the good blue cards we've been passing. Alright, total pivot into something completely different. Now what? Well, we're not really committed to anything, and High Spire Infusion is a fine trick. Aether Inspector is not one you really want to put in your deck, but you will if you don't have enough 4-drops. So I'll take the Infusion. Negate is also one. You might want one, but only for your sideboard. Anything else here? I mean, yeah, these are considerations, but the trick is fine. Okay, Savage Scuttler. I haven't seen this be good, but I could imagine a case where it is good. So I'll try it here. Dispersal Technician is a little easier to pick up, and generally it's not going to be great. If your opponent has a lot of artifact creatures, then the effect gets more powerful, but it's expensive. Wrangle. Wrangle, Negate, yeah, stuff I'm not that excited about, but Wrangle has higher upside. And Tezzeret's Touch. That's a funny card to wheel. Could maybe splash black or something. But yeah, I would play one Metallic Rebuke, but I'm not super excited about it. Tezzeret's Touch actually has a high payoff though. And Automaton. Mainly just because it's a 2-drop that we could put Tezzeret's Touch on. But sometimes you get some white cards that are good to flashback. It can be a late game engine if you make it that far. Alright, another Dark Intimations. We could have had 2 of these. And 2 of the best removal spells in the set. Hungry Flames, Efficient, Instant Speed, Aggressive, and then Monstrous Onslaught, which is heavy green and requires you to have a big creature in play, but if you do, it can be pretty insane. That said, I'm going to go with Hungry Flames here. We're a little more set up to be red, and it's an easier splash. Even though Monstrous Onslaught is maybe better overall, and might be a better first pick, Hungry Flame seems to be better in our deck. Alright, interesting follow-up here. Heroic Intervention is an option. We could consider Vengeful Rebel, but we've got to start eliminating some of these colors. Find out what our splash is. Another Specialist, but what are we going to get back with it? There's not much. Caught in the Brights, which I still don't like here. And not much else. Any creatures? The best creature besides the Rebel is the Druid of the Cal. So, since we're not that close to being green, I'm trying to think if we're that close to being white even. I'm still at the point where we've just got to take the best card, and that's going to be Vengeful Rebel here. Could be right to take Druid of the Cal, but I really don't have a grasp of like what colors we're doing. It's getting pretty late. Getting a little scary. Alright, 2 great white cards here. Even a black-red card, but that's committing to something less sure. Alright, let me do this. Get this a little easier to see now. We've got some red, but we don't have the red meat. We don't have the red stuff that really makes a deck. Like the creatures. Yeah, that's not really a card. Some green stuff. Felidar Guardian. Really, I just want to live the dream here and open a Saheeli in the next pack and build a control deck. We've got some of the pieces. We've got some blue, some blue-white, and some red removal spells. And Felidar Guardian's actually just a pretty great card. it's not super aggressive, but 4 toughness is a lot, and the airdrop aeronauts is also very good, but the potential payoff of the Guardian is a bit higher. Okay. So what now? Aether Swooper. I like this card. It helps for a bunch of stuff. I mean, you have another little chump blocker, you have another artifact for improvised cards. All around, pretty good. It pings away in the air slowly. So that is all good. Dawnfeather Eagle. And Hidden Stockpile, although we're not really doing that thing. And Dawnfeather Eagle is just such a beating. We've got flyers. We've got Felidar Guardian to bounce it the next turn, so that is definitely a good one here. Another Infiltrator, and Reverse Engineer, although we're still pretty far from making this amazing in the deck. So I'll take the Infiltrator just to make sure we get a good deck here. Conviction. Cogwork Assembler. We don't have a real good payoff for this yet. Maybe we'll pick up a Torrential Gear Hulk in the next pack or something. Yeah. I don't mind having one implement of Examination in a deck, but it's not like necessary. I'll take Conviction here. I've been impressed with one of these. Of these 3 cards, the Assembler, the Conviction, and the Implement, and still passing these counter spells, I'll take the Conviction. Another Infiltrator, okay. The other good thing about Conviction is you put it on an Infiltrator to make a 4/4 beast, and that's kind of attacking pretty early. Alright, getting aggressive here. Ornithopter. Sure, the other option is a Watchful Automaton, and I don't want to load up on Convictions. I mean, it's a fine card, but... well, maybe I do. Maybe we do. Yeah, Ornithopter just does nothing. I'd love a deck that this would be good in, but this is not it. Watchful Automaton versus Conviction. Yeah, let's just go nuts with Conviction. If the card's good, we'll see how good it is. Wrangle. Heroic Intervention. Heroic Intervention leads to some blowouts. This is a versatile trick. It answers removal. It answers all kinds of things. Any Wrath effect. Probably the best answer to Fumigate. But I'll take Wrangle. And, ooh, Crusher. Wow, we have a million things that can crew it. 1,000,001 things that can crew it, and we can give it flying. That's a very late Crusher. This card is good. Yeah, nothing else here. Foil Renegade Getaway. Nice. Alright. So, green definitely did not pan out. Black is pretty unlikely that we splash it, and red could be our second color. That's kind of where I see things. But if we open the black Gear Hulk or something, we're not so committed to the other colors that we would pass that up. Ooh, that is interesting. No Saheeli. Gone are the days when you'll be past a Saheeli, although that did happen to me a couple times. I'm glad I took them when I did. Metalwork Colossus, yeah. And Trusty Companion. We're not really set up for the Colossus, and I don't intend to be. So I'm going to pass up on that. Disintegration, obviously, great card. Most of the time we're going to make this Companion work, though. We've got some flyers to work with it, and it's 2 mana. Like, it's pretty easy. Hopefully we get an Eddy Trailhawk to make it better, but yeah. Keep working with your 2-drop slot to make it the best. Aether Hub. Aether Hub, that'd be our first piece of fixing. We don't really have that many playables here, 14. So it might open up the chance to play some red. Interesting. Or we could take Aviary Mechanic or Cogworker's Puzzle Knot. or Gear Seeker Serpent, but we're not really set up for that. I'm going to take Aether Hub. Because our red cards, our red splash is quite good. And then what? Another Gear Seeker Serpent, but again, pretty hard for us to make work. So how about... I mean, Revoke Privileges is a thing. I do want more creatures, and Cogworker's Puzzle Knot kind of does that. Kind of works. We're passing a lot of that black removal. So I'm not sure why we're committed to blue. But it's very heavy black removal, like Tidy Conclusion and Essence Extraction or whatever it was. Double black. So it does make it a little tougher. Yeah, I'll take a Propeller Pioneer. Flying is always good. Panharmonicon. That got a lot worse in this set. It certainly doesn't have that many things that it works with. It works with Puzzle Knot, Felidar Guardian, Dawnfeather Eagle, Spire Patrol. It works. It works with a few things, but not everything. And it's still a bit slow. Is there anything else here? Maybe there's nothing else here. I'll take it. Fine. There we go. We pick up another way to work with it. The Artisan. That's a good way, too. Aether Meltdown. Sure, if we are attacking in the air, this is a good way to shut down a big creature, and it can power up our Aether Swooper. So I'm fine with that. If blue really is our second color, we better take the good blue cards. And I could see splashing a couple red cards. Alright, Pressure Point. Never sad about having this card. And Eddy Trail Hawk. Another way to use energy, and a good way to get our 3 power creatures in late. Bastion Mastodon is also fine, but I'll take Eddy Trail Hawk for this deck. And it looks like we got enough playables here. And enough things to work with Panharmonicon. Kind of surprising that we got so many in this pack. But what does work with it? We've got all of these guys that at least do something when Panharmonicon comes in. Fragmentize, perfect to pick up here. Might cut a Conviction. It's not all that necessary. And yeah, the Specialist actually works pretty well. Maybe with the second Conviction. We could even cut red. If we really do have enough playables here. Let's try that, actually. We can cut red. Trade Winds is fine. It's almost like removal in a tempo deck. And then our deck looks something like this. Aegis Automaton might even be worth playing. Well, no. 16 is probably the minimum. Although this is a very land-light format. You can get away with very few lands. Especially with a curve like this. You look at all the 2-drops. But I do like the second Conviction. Because not only does it make our creatures a little tougher, it also helps a little card advantage with the Specialist. And we don't have good payoffs for Revolt. I can't think of any anyway. Yeah, no really Revolt payoffs here, but that's okay. You don't need that. You know, that's just a bonus to having Conviction in your deck. It's not like a prerequisite. Yeah, so there are a couple red cards we could splash, but same goes for black and all that. But it's not necessary. I think this deck is aggressive enough and good enough to work without that. Got some flyers. Got some Convictions. They almost behave like equipments if you always have that white up, because they can kill the creature, but you can, you know, get your Conviction back, and it's pretty cheap to play out. Color, yeah. The Aether Trade Winds also works well with Panharmonicon, which will be fun to try out in this new fast format. The Trade Winds returning whatever we want to double tap with Spire Patrol or use Dawn Feather Eagle again. Alright, let's see. This is like a 10-6 deck. Maybe 11-5. But I'm pretty happy with 10-6. 10 is a lot. That's a quarter of our deck. You don't need to go too much below that, and 6 is plenty for our 4 blue cards. Actually, I'm going to take out an island and put in an Aether Hub. Why not? It adds an energy for Eddy Trailhawk, and we can also just use the mana if we really need it. It's like a dual land with pretty low cost to put in the deck. So, there is the deck. Let's see how this works. I am playing usually 16, sometimes 15 lands in a deck if you have a Renegade map, and you can see why, sort of. If we start with 2 lands, we'll be all set until whatever, until we get 4 lands. See you in the matches.